Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the TIHA Archival Conversations brought to you by Trans and Intersex History Africa. My name is Victor, and I am your host for these conversations. As always, this is the space where we document, preserve, and celebrate the history of trans and intersex people and movements across Africa. Because our stories matter and they deserve to be told in our own words. Today we're in Botswana in Southern Africa, and I am delighted to be joined by Sputla Mogorosi, co-founder and director of Botswana Trans Initiative, a trans-led organization working to advance the rights, dignity, and inclusion of transgender and gender diverse people in Botswana. Botswana Trans Initiative, or BTI, may have been formally registered only recently, but the vision behind it goes much further than that. It's about building a movement, changing systems, producing knowledge, influencing policy, and ensuring that transgender people are not simply spoken about. They are helping to shape the future. Sputla, welcome to TIHA, and it's really good to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Victor. It's a pleasure to be in a space like this, and I appreciate the work that you all are putting into.
We are honored, and yes, thank you for bringing yet another brick to be added on the building of the history of Trans Africa. Sputla. The name Sputla, I learned a few minutes ago from you that it is from football. Tell us about this. It was inspired by football, something to do with football, which is soccer on our continent. Why you? Why Sputla?
I don't know. I played football at a very young age from primary school. So I was the only girl in the boys' team.
Yeah.
And I played it until varsity, and that's where I got the name when I got a coach called, I forgot his name. Before this. Sputla is a player from South Africa called Sputla Mogorosi. He was a brilliant player.
Sputla Mogorosi.
Yeah, and I guess I played too well.
You were that good.
I was that good.
Did Sputla play the World Cup? Any World Cup?
No, only national team level.
Okay. But he was good.
It was really good. I had a great experience.
Right. It tells us now. It tells us now about your behavior on the pitch, on the field. Well, we're very honored to have you here and to hear that story about your name, the origins of your name. So, of course, you are an activist, and we're going to talk about your activism and your organization, but we usually want to go back to start with the person, Sputla, where Sputla comes from, and what makes Sputla today. And that means we have to go back in history. So, who is Sputla? Where is Sputla born? When was that, if you're comfortable with that? And yeah, let's start from there.
My given names are Victor Mukasa. Refilo is like more of a gender neutral name in our country. So it doesn't, I'm still keeping my name.
Right.
I was born on the 5th of January 1988 as one of 6 kids from our family.
Right.
Did my primary school in Gaborone. Throughout varsity, I went to the University of Botswana.
Gaborone is the capital.
Gaborone is the capital city of Botswana.
Right.
Studied at the University of Botswana, where I did a double major in environmental science and which is quite different from the space I am in now.
So very interesting.
So that's when I think my varsity days are when now I started to learn a bit more about myself, because
Right.
growing up, I didn't really understand a lot of things about myself. I just knew
Yeah.
that I want to be doing different kind of things that people are expecting me to do.
Right.
I think from an early age, I quite knew I was different, but not necessarily how. The
Did you
languages.
know you were different even when you were
I mean,
young and living
I
with
wasn't like
family?
I wasn't like the other, my other counterparts,
Yeah.
in school. So kind of like figured I'm a little different.
Was
Uh,
stuff easy at home?
uh, I mean, as from primary level, I guess our parents don't necessarily kind of like point out, the
Right.
gender, roles and other things, but I could do both male and female,
Yes.
responsibilities.
Yeah.
Not knowing, but it just came naturally to me.
Right.
Uh,
When do you really start to question yourself
when I got to,
or people around you?
so when I was in primary,
Mm.
when you meet a nice girl there and you'll see there's something there, but you don't really know what it is, and you buy them a chocolate at lunch, and it's just friendship like that. But it really got intense when I was doing my Form 3.
From
Uh,
3 years.
I realized that, these are actually real feelings that for the girls, and also a bit of confusion in that aspect as well. Like, you see your other friends, girlfriends, you see your boyfriends have girlfriends, you see your girlfriends have boyfriends, but now you are supposedly a girl, but who's not really sure what's happening to them. So
Yeah.
it was a very confusing state for me at that time. But
Right.
what I got to really, really understand, when I got to really, really understand myself, was when I was in varsity and got to understand a bit more about what diversity looks like, and
Yeah.
get into these other languages that came,
Mm.
or words that came with me being in that more freedom giving space of a tertiary school.
Mm.
Only thing that I knew at the time when I was doing my Form 5 was
Hmm. Was
uh,
what?
lesbian and gay.
Yes. Yes.
When I got to varsity, that's when I got to learn and also understand myself a little bit more better,
Yeah.
uh, through experiencing other people, through learning myself, through also engaging with spaces. So the knowledge that I was to get from that was that, well, I don't fit into this female embodiment,
Mm.
right? So,
So all that time you had those questions.
yep,
You eventually heard about the word lesbian. Did
yep.
you identify with that word, or did you label yourself in any way during that period?
For a while I did. For a while I did, until I did my third year. That's when I realized. But even though I'm identifying as this lesbian person, I don't necessarily fit into this lesbian crowd as fully as I would like to express myself.
Right,
So
right. You were not really feeling it.
yeah, I wasn't myself then. I was there, but I was not there. So
Right. That was a girl who was really facing a lot
exactly right. So
silently.
um, in my varsity years, that's when I started to get to learn more about issues around, queer issues, lesbian issues, and even though I didn't quite fit into that, I still
Yeah.
continued to be as lesbian until I got to learn about an organization called Rainbow Identity Association,
Right. Right.
and
So that was adversity.
that was advanced.
Before varsity, through secondary school, you did not hear about any organization. You didn't meet other people like you.
Uh, I didn't meet people like me.
Mm.
I didn't even know any organization that existed. Yes, I
Right.
knew that from, the Googles that we got to learn at varsity, other people also being able to express themselves fully as lesbian, as gay. So I got
Yeah.
to do a lot more research during that time, my second year and
Right.
my third,
Yeah.
and that there's a bit more out there. There's a lot more diversity that actually
Right.
explains better. in that essence. And that's when I did a bit of research around Botswana and what context it is. And that's when I got to learn about Rainbow Identity
So,
Association.
which years were those of you at varsity?
Second, from second year, third year, and fourth year. So fourth year, that's when I was fully aligned to identify myself as a non-binary person at that time.
And when was that? Which year was
That
that?
was
What? I beg your pardon?
fourth. Am I not
No,
audible?
I mean in terms of
Oh, that was 2004.
2004.
Yeah, 2000. That's
Wow.
how 2004. That's when I actually got to really understand some of these other
And then
terminology.
you started identifying as non-binary.
And then I started identifying as non-binary because I also wanted to figure out for myself who who I really was, from a point of, yes, I understand lesbian, and people are more aligned to understanding what lesbian is. But now I think I'm feeling a bit more masculine and more manly. Those
Mm,
are using at the time, right? What does that really make me?
exactly. So you kept questioning.
Exactly. So I started
Mm,
questioning. That's how I got into now non-binary space to also
right.
myself to fully explore some of these other languaging that was coming up to me.
So you actually reached out to Rainbow Identity?
Yeah, when I finished my fourth year, I
Yeah.
reached out in Boy Identity and actually did started doing volunteer work there.
Oh, that was good. You were beginning to get home. You were closer to getting home. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? That's how I always call it. Now, um, you were in the city. You were educated. Your education was in the city, Gaborone, the capital, and
Yep.
I guess Rainbow Identity was also in the city. How was life like for transgender people, like those who identified as transgender or gender non-conforming people, or queer community in general? How was life like those days? That is the early 2000s, right?
Yeah, early 2000. I
Yeah.
think around that time, a lot of people didn't really know trans or gender diverse persons, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, many of the societies were accustomed to the lesbian, the gay,
Lesbian gay everywhere. Mm.
as the standard terminologies to understand or to for people to identify as.
Mm.
Uh, I think it took a while to see a lot of other trans people come out
Mm-hmm.
around that because we were still trying to figure out also what is it that we want people to understand about our lives.
Mm-hmm.
To see us, how do we want people to understand us? So I think it was a little bit of a moment of learning as well as an organization and as a community of trans people. And
Mm.
it was very difficult also to come out fully as a trans person. I
Mm.
think because also even in our own community, a lot of people still don't understand what trans is.
Right.
So
Right. Mm.
quite a
Mm.
challenging, quite challenging years to be around.
Yeah. And during that period, of course, it was gay and lesbian, and you all belonged in that, in that one group. Uh, what was the legal situation like those days? What was the media like those days? What was, socially, how much acceptance
I mean,
did?
from 2004 moving upward, it was it was a bit hostile because there were still issues around, is this right? Is it okay for you to feel this way? Is this, there was
Right.
a lot of around societal expectations as well.
Mm-hmm.
Societies were still a little bit reluctant to allow people to fully express themselves. So it was quite
Mm.
a stable time. And then in terms of media, I think media like would always sensationalize everything. They
Yeah,
hear,
they had content.
oh,
Content.
yeah. So they hear around queer people, you find a very sensationalized headline,
Right, right.
not even related to the headline.
I know.
So
Right.
it was, uh, and I think it was very important for rainbow identity to exist at that time, because
Mm.
time when we needed people to fully have the education that way, the diversity of people surrounding society in different.
So,
Yeah.
and was it only rainbow identity that existed then in Botswana?
No, I think the oldest organization at the time was Habibo, lesbians, gays, and
Likabibo, yes, I remember that.
lesbians, gays, and bisexuals of
Oh, I
Botswana.
remember that. Big up to Monica Tabemwa, right?
Exactly, you know, the old ones. And the Ken young men were still there, you know. So, I mean, those are the people who kind of, in a way, in terms of contribution to community, they
Yes.
gave us a lot of support and
Right.
attention towards all of this hard work that they had already put in. And I
Right.
think when identity came in, that gap of, you know, trans people trying to find a footing somewhere. So that was quite a good life experience to be a part of.
Wow. Yeah, I'm remembering the days of Monica Tabemwa. I think that's the first Botswanan activist that I met.
Oh, really?
Yes, Monica and Linda Boma. No, Linda was Namibia.
That's Namibia.
It was Monica Tabemwa.
Yeah,
That
great.
was
So
my.
Monica was with the Canes and other.
Yes, I remember Kane.
Yeah, you remember Kane, eh?
Yes, I remember Kane too. Eventually, I met Kane. This movement has traveled roads. So, you join Rainbow Identity. You are a volunteer, and which year was that?
I think it was around 2005.
2005. So you're getting more acquainted with the community. You're connecting more, probably learning a lot.
Yeah.
But then we have you in research as an activist, and it's very good that we have seen where this Sputla comes from. It's probably going to explain a lot of what you're going to share with us. So when do you decide it's time for an organization? There was Legabibo, there was Rainbow Identity, there was, you know, people
Many
were
other.
organizing definitely. And so when do you now shift from all that into starting an organization?
I mean, for me to get into the human rights space, it was the work that I did with Rainbow Identity.
Right.
I learned quite a lot from the organization, and also have, after I left Rainbow Identity, I also had a chance to work with Lehabibo as well in different. So I could say I have the best of both organizations.
Right.
But essentially, when we started BTI, because I wasn't the only one who started BTI. I'm a co-founder together with Miss Nelly Tobeja.
Mary?
Nelly
Nelly.
Tobeja, who is the co-founder.
Nelly, thank you so much.
So we started BTI after realizing that even after the 2017 ND and Positao cases were won.
Tell me again about that. What did you, after which cases?
The ND and the Riku Positao cases versus the AG, the Attorney General.
Okay.
Those were cases that happened in 2017, where two people, a trans man and a trans woman, were challenging the courts of Botswana to say, can we get our gender markers changed? And we won both cases.
That was 2018 when the cases started? 2017?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you won these cases?
No, not necessarily me, but the movement itself.
I mean the movement, yes.
The litigation was headed by SALC and Lahabibo as well, and also a lot of other legal partners that we had, like Bolisoro, Nchung, or Tepo. I don't know if you remember Tepo, Ricky.
Not really.
Yes, she was the trans woman who took government to court.
Wow.
So the other case, because Tepo is also a trans activist, she made her case more public. For advocacy purposes and also for the movement, and to mostly kind of have everyone win with her. And
I know what that means when it becomes ours.
Exactly.
Right.
So that case was more of a non-disclosure, hence the ND versus AD judgments. The other case was a non-disclosure case. The person did not want to disclose the identity, so we kept it at that. But it still was a win for the movement as well,
Wow.
because
Wow.
Le Habiba was amicus curiae to that court case as well.
That was 2017. How long did the process take?
Because it was a backtracked process, I think Tepo started a case around the early 2000s,
Ah.
pursuing gender recognition until we finally got the judgment in 2017.
Wow. That's a case we should revisit. Get the
This
story.
was so this was also around the time when Le Habibo was also pushing for decriminalization and so forth and so forth.
Wow. Wow. There's been a lot happening in Botswana.
There's a lot happening in Botswana, man.
There's been a lot.
Yeah.
Now, did you see any trans activists? Because like people was LGBT and whatever comes after that, were there trans activists in Legabibo
Yeah, there were.
during those years?
So there were some trans activists who aligned with her, where there were trans activists aligned with any other organization, especially when it comes to um, litigation issues and
Yes.
advocacy. We all have to show a unified, front, because
Yes.
if we become a more dismantled
Right.
movement that government doesn't see as a,
True.
as a listen to. So I think at that time we all gathered the movement to rally behind everything that was happening at the courts, whether the DCRIM case, whether the LGR case. So we
Yes.
rallied the whole community around all of those cases.
Right.
And after the cases in 2017 were when we were hoping, it was a big landmark thing. We were hoping to see a bit more progression around government procedures, administrative procedures, and change of certain legal policies and all of that. But unfortunately, hitting 2021, we still didn't have those things.
Right.
Right, so there were no guidelines, no procedural administrative procedures to tell people or let people know that legal gender recognition is a possible thing in Botswana, or gender marker change is a possible thing in Botswana.
Right.
And only, I think the other thing that also came out was that the judgments that came out in 2017 solely to the two people who took government to court, right, so that they can change the agenda marker. So now the issue
Only
becomes,
then.
yeah.
Wow.
So now the issue becomes, now we have to have everybody go to get a court order to change the agenda marker.
Right.
And this was more of a barrier than anything else after the landmark cases that we just had. So that's how the thoughts around BTI now started crawling up to say, but we've had over 7 years of, these wins, but nothing has aggressively through government to say, oh, but we acknowledge and recognize trans people as part of Botswana society. So that's when now the conversation started. How do we now make sure that we close this gap? How do we make sure that trans people are not required court order in order for us to be able to assist everyone across the whole country? Because also everything in Botswana is centered in the capital city. So a person 500, 600 kilometers away is not able to get all of those services of getting a court order. And, there are other barriers and factors that become more challenging, because now you have to think about, if I leave my house, go to Gaborone to get this court order, where will I stay? What will I eat? And all of how long the process is also.
Exactly. Yeah. Where do I start from?
Exactly. So that's how now the conversation around BTI kind of started. To kind of fill in that gap, saying how do you government creates all of these policies, all of these guidelines that help people get the gender marker changed.
So wow, and it makes a lot of sense. The gap was really there, even with all the wins. The gap was there, and I've read that you started as a grassroots collective. That's right. And then you later became a registered organization.
Yes.
When did you register? And in Botswana, how does that go? How did it go? Was it a very tough?
Because we already had established a WhatsApp group for trans communities to be able to support each other and share information and all of those important things,
Mm-hmm.
we thought, so let's just migrate the support into an organization. Still keep the same format of community centered organizations, right?
Right.
And we formally registered in 2004, March 11th,
Two, 4.
as a trust under the Master of the High Court,
Mm-hmm.
so considered to be a non-profit organization in Botswana.
Mm-hmm.
And many organizations register under the Register of Societies,
Mm-hmm.
with a non-governmental organizations kind of standpoint.
That was like a strategy,
Um,
or
I think because we are also strapped for time to kind of like, because we're also looking at the resources we were trying to pull. That's one of the looked into, to say if we register as a society, the process is a bit longer than we
right.
would be, but
Mm.
also the fact that with the register of societies, there's a certain number of people that you should have as members. And
Mm-hmm.
we also looked at the fact that, but we don't even have large numbers of people who are openly trans. And for them to have put out there, some of them were not even comfortable about using that dead in formal documents like that. So we are kind of like looked at those issues and said, but if we have a trust organization, gives everybody who identifies as trans across
Mm.
Botswana able to benefit from all the work the trust is doing. So that's kind of where the level of thought was at.
I see. So, Botswana Trans Initiative now starts way back before it, years before what the registration year is, and it's covering gaps, as you all had, gaps that still existed even with the wins brought by other organizations that existed before. So it's very important for us to learn that. I hear something, but I hope it doesn't become a big problem for us. But that's okay. Let's keep going. And I've seen also that you have you work a lot with government, civil society. You work with researchers, healthcare providers, and traditional leaders, and many others. That means you've had conversations with them. How easy, how hard are these conversations? Because also I look that your organization is kind of very unique. It, even if it's rooted in grassroots activism, you're actually at focusing at the level of policy, legal reform, systems reform. Is that correct?
Yes, BTI looks at four thematic areas, which is
Mm-hmm.
human rights, advocacy, legal and policy reform, movement building, and education and awareness. And
Mm-hmm.
because we had already had organizations like Rainbow Identity, we didn't want to duplicate the work that has been already been done.
Right.
Kind of
It was
looked at,
wise. Yes.
yeah, that we create space for more opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of our movement building, for one, we are community centered, and we also try to also build our movement through other partner organizations, civil
Right.
organizations, so that in spaces where BTI is not able to be in, other
Mm-hmm.
people are able to speak on our behalf and speak very well progressively about our community.
Right.
So that's where our movement building aspect is. And then
Mm-hmm.
in terms of policy reform, we do look into stakeholder engagements. And these particularly, we have three major stakeholders that we look into, which is the Ministry of Labor and Home Affairs,
Labor
which
and Home Affairs.
which looks into issues around legal gender recognition and gender marker changes, particularly on, because that's the ministry that is responsible for civil and national registration, for your birth
Right.
and death registration. And
Mm.
then we have the Ministry of Youth and Gender, which kind of looks at gender mainstreaming, gender equality, and other aspects of gender, and also
Mm.
social inclusion. So that's how we kind of separate our conversations throughout the ministries. And then we
Right.
have health at the center of access to inclusive and targeted healthcare for trans and gender diverse persons. This means these conversations are centered on access to gender affirming healthcare, access to sexual reproductive health, so, and HIV access as well. So these are kind of like where our forefront conversations are. And we are also not including our human institutions, offices like the Office of the Ombudsman, for example, where we know that you are able to go there and engage on human rights issues. We also have the Ministry of Justice and Correctional Services, which holds the human rights mandate at this current point.
Ah,
And
wow.
then our education and awareness is mostly mainstream throughout society. We do try and teach everyone in every corner of Botswana about trans rights and trans advocacy and everything else trans. So we try by all means to create spaces where um, mainstream society can engage
Right.
on much communities, on key populations, on trans and gender diverse issues. Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of very important work. And still it takes me back to that question, comparing with other countries, say Uganda, Ghana, Nigeria, where some of where the very harsh laws have been introduced or are being debated. Um, it looks like you have been welcomed in those spaces to have conversations with government, civil society, and the like. Why is it very possible? Because it's not that you're trying to get conversations, you are having these conversations. Why is that possible? Has it been an easy journey to start engaging government on these issues, or mainstream human rights organizations? We have countries where it is difficult to even start a conversation with a mainstream human rights organization, like human rights organization. It's very difficult. It is very difficult to have an engagement with the Ministry of Justice in most countries. In Uganda, in particular, where I come from, this is the reality. How has it how has that process gone in Botswana? Has it been a challenging journey to get to that level? How have you been welcomed? How does that go, and why is it possible?
Oh, it's always a challenge, Victor. It's always a challenge because you never know what government is thinking and for who is it thinking for.
Right.
So it's always been a matter of us trying to find that opening to have the conversation. So what as BTI, what we tried to do was align ourselves in different movements.
Mhm.
In many a times, we look at the HIV space as a very, you know, that's the entry point for most of us.
It
And
is a real issue, but also strategic for.
exactly. So you
Yes.
have to be strategic about the conversations that you are bringing into the space.
Right.
I think in us being able to get into all these other high level spaces was through our Ministry of Health engagements,
Right.
especially through the HIV aspect and
Mm-hmm.
patient conversations. So
Mm-hmm.
that's able to meet other focal persons from different ministries. It's
Right.
always to work with government because one, they don't really understand the issues that we bring.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, they never have the time to sit down and engage.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
you always have to be resilient and consistent
Mm.
about who you want to reach out to. And I think the one thing that has always been able to work for us was if we have a foot in the door and have somebody as a like a contact person, a focal person of some sort who's able,
Right.
like a champion of some
Mm-hmm.
sort of space, it's easier for us to navigate and into that space. So I think that's how we've been able to get into those spaces. And sometimes when we start the conversations, we don't necessarily, we allow them to share with us what their challenges are. So in that way, you make them feel more, you know
Yeah.
how you feel,
Yes.
make them feel big
That's,
about them. Never
yeah.
get that.
It,
And what we've tried to bring forth as one of our strategies is bringing forth an intersectional human rights approach. That's
mm-hmm.
able to also connect with other CSOs to say, as much as I'm a trans person, you
Mm-hmm.
persons with disabilities, there's also a trans person in that space. There's also a trans person in, who's a feminist, who's, in different kind of spaces. So that's the one thing that we've always tried to bring forth. And
Yeah.
also ourselves in spaces where we don't only talk about our own issues, but we talk about different aspects of issues from
Right.
social to education to bring ourselves into that space, not only isolating ourselves in our own spaces and advocating for our own issues. Because as we already know, our lives are all intersectional and
Right.
we can apply that. And we've tried to push our government to also see kind of narrative to say everything is interconnected. If you help this one and you don't help this one, you are going to create another problem that will come for the next 10 years. So that's
I
how we
really love
gradually
your
move.
approach,
Yeah.
and really thank you for what you do. But and I know that these are not easy processes. It's not a piece of cake. It's not as easy as showing what we call matoke, bananas. But it's a struggle. And I've seen also, what you do. Other countries have also tried to use those strategies, and yet at the moment those spaces are closed because of the legal situation. It is illegal for certain ministries to sit with queer people, trans people, because trans LGBTIQ plus people are illegal. They're illegally existing in most of our countries. Does the legal situation in Botswana help with this? And what is the legal situation? Are there laws against the existence of LGBT people like it is elsewhere, or laws that actually protect LGBT people in Botswana, like queer people in general?
I mean, Lehabibo did great work in terms of community sensitizations
Mm.
and um, advocacy work around public education and awareness. Right? And I think by the time BTI started, the foundation was already laid. We had already, and had already had, I think also the conversation around HIV and having understood what HIV has done, putting in the clause of non-discrimination,
Mm-hmm.
so kind of helped in that aspect. But I think the legal space in Botswana is quite conducive. Uh, in terms of trans persons, there are no written laws or
Mm-hmm.
policies directly to gender identity issues.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our conversations stem from the non-discrimination clause, as
Mm-hmm.
well as um, our current state is a human rights based government. So we are also taking it, but after the decrim, everything kind of seemingly kind of like threaded easily, and also researches that were done around HIV and of key populations and the LGBTQ community on HIV also kind of helped us build that baseline to say, but now how do we make sure that people are able to access services, which kind of builds that sustainable foundation of saying, but if we have, I think
Right, right,
our health sector kind of gave us a strong aspect in terms of penetrating through other sectors and conversations as well.
right. Well, before we proceed as we begin approaching the end. For our viewers, you mentioned after decrim is homosexuality decriminalized? Was it decriminalized in Botswana?
Yes, homosexuality has been decriminalized. I think with like I was saying, the current government is a human rights centered government, as they put themselves to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw just was it a month or a few weeks ago, the repeal of Section 6, 7, and the removal of it from the penal code as well. So that
Right.
gave, yeah. So one of those.
Oh my God, Africa, please look at your sister Botswana. Look at your sister Botswana.
Yeah, so I think just having that removed from the penal code has given us a lot more opportunities to converse about our issues in the space.
Right. It makes a lot of sense. And again, I will say congratulations to Botswana activists, because this has been a journey. It's been fights and fights, fights and fights. You have fought for it, you deserve it, and we celebrate with you. Now, looking ahead, Sputla, looking ahead, let's say we're having this conversation 20 years from now. Let's imagine we are in a more modern studio. We're probably using AI to make our coffee and stuff like that. And we are talking about Botswana, we are talking about BTI. What are you telling me 20 years from now about how Botswana looks like, how the landscape is when it comes to trans rights or the trans community? We are 20 years from now. What do you see there?
To see the change that I want to see happen in those years. But essentially, it's basically just the basic, having trans people live with dignity, freedom, respect,
Right.
and access to all of the services that we need, without having to dig deeper into people's thoughts to see what they're thinking. And I think because what our vision is to have a Botswana that is inclusive and open by 2036. And we do hope that in the current progression of policy reviews in the country, hope that our government will be able to see the need to those inclusive policies because right now our current context is that our government is reviewing a lot of documents, and this opportunity to see ourselves in those documents, we are going to stay another 20 years without having them reviewed again. So I think now is just to see trans people need to respect, access all the necessary care that is essential to us. Yeah.
Well, you're doing amazing work, Sputla, and I would like to ask you two things. One, in the next 1 minute, for you to shout out to the people that came before you that actually built the foundation of our movement in Botswana. And if you can remember some of them, it would be great to name them at this point. If few that you remember, because you may not be able to remember everybody, but let's shout their names out as people who have laid that foundation.
Shout out goes to, like you were saying when the start of our conversation, Monica Tabengwa, Kenny Young Man, the Skipper Mohapis, Bompote Kanyos, the Anna Chalmases, the Bradley Fontaine, Bokutano Makashula, there's a long list to go ahead with. We have other organizations, Boni, which is Friends of Diversity. We have Health Empowerment Rights. We have, even the small organizations, grassroots organizations, community organizations like Pink Triangle, organizations like, even the smallest of the small. We send a shout out and great work that has transpired in Botswana through your work in services that you've been able to give to our communities. So we really, really appreciate that work that has come in throughout the years. Our Tepo, Kositaus, our NDs, even though I can mention them by name, the people who have, were litigants in the DCRIM case. The list goes on. The list is endless.
Yeah, it's a long list, but it's also very important for us to, to recognize the role of those people. And I thank you so much for doing that. The list is endless. I know that you can't mention everyone, but at least we have their spirits with us still in this struggle. Their energies, their efforts did not go in vain. Now, I would like to ask you, and also I want to tell you, we have not exhausted this conversation. I want to go back, for example, to the DCRIM thing, and we talk about it, unpack it, and how it went, how things went. How somebody who was there also. It's a lot that we need to unpack, but at least we have an idea of where you come from, where BTI, Botswana Trans Initiative, comes from, and the situation in Botswana. You continue to paint that picture. We had Skipper Mugabe here before. He shared some of what you've shared and more, and it means that as you join in, more spaces are covered. And we thank you so much. But we are requesting you to leave a message. In fact, for me today, I would request you to leave a message to our governments, the governments that have not yet taken seriously the humanity of trans or queer people in general. Even if you can just give us a very short clip that we can send to governments, that we can use to speak out to governments. I think Botswana government is doing good, can do better, but is doing good. And we will leave you on the screen by yourself. Please just mention your name and where you're from, and if possible, your identity if you want to, and leave a message to African governments that have not yet gotten to, that are decriminalizing, that are criminalizing their citizens.
Firstly, before you record all of this,
yes,
let me just let you know that we have a marital equality case coming up.
Yes, please.
There are two women who are taking government to task.
Marital equality case.
Yeah, marital equality. We have a hearing, I think, on the 14th, and on the 14th of July. So we'll have
14th of July, very soon.
Yeah, very soon.
There's a lot of progress.
But there seemingly has been a few groups who have shown interest to the case. So the courts will be hearing why they want to be part of the case. Obviously, the anti-gender movement is there. The evangelists are there.
Right.
But so on our side have pro queer persons and organizations supporting us, applying for the amicus curiae aspect as well.
Wow, that's very interesting. An interesting case to follow.
Yeah, but hopefully be able to cover the case as well for our archives and also sharing around the region.
Do you place such news on a Facebook page that people can follow?
Yeah, we are I think we should be running an advocacy, media advocacy campaign soon that will share all of the details around the case and everything else.
So we look for Botswana
Trans Initiative.
On viewers, Facebook. Botswana Trans Initiative on Facebook. Follow them TikTok. And find out more about what is happening, especially with the case that the marriage equality case that is coming up. There, the studio has put it on the screen. Botswana Trans Initiative on Facebook. Please look for them and follow them. So please let our governments know. Our governments have said Africa will not accept this. We have Botswana, a very, typically African country, which is recognizing the existence of trans people, LGBTIQ people in general. Please leave a message for our governments. Introduce yourself, who you are, very briefly, and leave a message for them that we will send to our governments. Studio.
My name's Sputla Mogorosi. I come from Botswana. I'm a transgender man. And my message to governments and policymakers and institutions that fail to address the realities of our trans communities is that the time to act is now. Trans people are not invisible, and their needs cannot continue to be ignored. Policies and health systems that exclude trans people do not reflect equality, human rights, or public health commitments. So I urge all governments to create spaces and have responsibility to ensure people are able to access services safely. And this requires investing in health systems, human rights issues, and other factors that align to the needs of the trans and gender diverse community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sputla, and that's a message that we can share with our governments, from somebody from an African country, Botswana. We are tired of telling us that this is not African and no African country can accept what they call this nonsense. I think Botswana is a respected partner on the continent. So thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you for sharing your story today, and thank you for the work that you and your teams are doing, you know, alongside your community, the transgender and gender non-conforming people in Botswana. You know, we see this is what we like to preserve as part of history, the stories of people who are not just waiting for history to be written, but are helping to write it themselves. You are writing this history. You are creating this history. And we thank you so much. Thank you so much to the Botswanan activist community. Thank you to all those who are watching us. Please follow Botswana Trans Initiative on Facebook for more updates, especially with the case that is coming up on July 14th, marriage equality case. Again, Botswana is in Southern Africa. It is an African country, and this country is making big strides in human rights when it comes to LGBTIQ people. So thank you so much, Sputla. Thank you so much to Botswana queer community for what you do. And to all our viewers, this is Victor Mukasa, and my colleague here today is Sputla, named after a soccer player from Bafana Bafana. Until next time, with yet another brick on the African trans and intersex history, we say bye bye. Catch you then.